It's another edition of What's the Haps Interrobang. I think that's what has happened. We are doing a part 2 since I was fascinated by part 1 that we didn't get to the subject at hand. Maybe we will this time, but once again, it's Jerry Norris of the Fledge.
Hey Melik, how you doing this morning?
Thanks for coming back. Your life, I was finding to be absolutely fascinating in the most wonderful way possible, and confusing as well. And those are the kind of things that interest me. I like autobiographies, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that, right?
Yeah.
I don't do well in classrooms.
Yeah, it's not the right way to learn anymore.
Well, anyway, COVID life. Homeschooling right now is not working either.
Nope.
Whew, good grief.
Yeah.
That's been a task.
My wife's a 5th grade teacher.
Actually vocation.
Yes.
Yes.
So she works for Pattongill for the Lansing School District.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got an office set up in the Fledge. We'll stay on topic, I guess.
Well, that's
helping her with the internet and helping her get organized. But I listen to what's going on quite a bit, and it is chaos.
It is chaos. And it's most unfortunate. And I think there's going to be I'm not a doctor or whatever, but I feel like there is going to be a gap, a step back, a pause, and forward movement of learning for a lot of people. Not everybody.
That's right. Not everybody.
So my heart aches for these students that are being paused, that are being caused to pause.
I think that the students, especially the students of color who might not have resource at home that matches the Okemos, the Grand Ledge, the wherever, that this is a scar across their education. And unfortunately, I also think it's a scar across the school district as they lose teachers that don't want to do this anymore,
mm-hmm.
and a scar against the parents who are now sacrificing their career, and I'm going to bet, or at least pausing their career in some way, and I'm going to bet that most of that burden falls on the female parent. And I don't mean to say that in every household, but definitely
it's a
there's
statistical
going to be
thing.
Yeah, so it sets women back too.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know LSD has been working hard. They handed out Chromebooks. They found internet providers that had low-cost internet.
I think they've been doing great. I mean,
they handing out food all summer.
That's right. I mean, they didn't forget the kids and kept them fed. And I mean, they don't have a lot of resource. There's been a lot of kind of flight out into the suburbs over the last 30 to 40 years.
Waverly School District?
Oh, I know. I mean, I was looking at the enrollment when I was in school versus the enrollment now, and it is like half of what it was. And
that's why we have all these empty buildings.
Yep. And we've got teacher shortages, and we have resource shortages, and we don't have the resources that the people in the more affluent
we
property.
Need to get rid of school funding based on housing values.
100% we need to.
That needs to go away.
That is something I will be fighting for, or continue to fight for. It's one of the Fledge things we want to shatter.
I was going to say, how are we going to bring this back to the Fledge?
Yeah.
So the Fledge is this building, it's this big white, purple building on the corner of a known traffic situation.
Yeah.
Is that the most polite way of saying that?
It's a weird one.
Well, and you came in and in the most quiet, loud way possible, making changes. And when I say quiet, you just started doing stuff, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't make announcements, right?
Correct.
You didn't go to make a bullhorn, But what ends up happening, it's the when things like that, significant changes happen, curiosity happens, which you knew that, right?
That is
and
right.
People started showing up, and then you basically said you're welcome here, right?
Yes.
To everyone.
To every single person, 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What are they welcome to do there?
Well, I'm gonna have to start that with, we use the term radical inclusion, and what that means to us is that if somebody walks in the door, my back is to the door, they say, "Can I?" We say yes. We do not care what they look like, who they are, what their past is, who they love, who they worship, who they vote for. We don't care about any of that. But we also don't care about their project. And that sounds horrible, but I mean, we don't care what the project is. We're still going to help.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a perpetual motion machine. It could be something that might be, on the cusp or in the gray area of legality. There's a lot of things we say yes to. That doesn't mean we're going to see it to the end and help them rob a bank, but we're going to say yes when they come in that way because it's our only way to engage with them. Because if we say no, then they turn back around, they go out, and they figure out a way to do it anyway. And at least we have a chance to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
And so our model is to invite and attract, welcome, include, create, sustain, or discover, create, sustain, and share.
That sustain thing is impressive because there's some things that I've been watching you do, and I'm like, how does he do this every day and at 9 o'clock in the morning? 99 Problems.
Yeah.
You got another one going on.
Every damn day.
Every damn day.
Yeah.
Which, when I first saw it, I thought it was like a one-off. Then I was like, he's really doing this every day?
We came up with that idea in our morning scrum Wednesday at 10 a.m. and we did our first show Wednesday at 2 p.m. So it went from idea to actualized in 6 hours. And I'm not saying or 4 hours. And I'm not saying it's good yet, but it's showing the process. It's showing the model.
There's so much to be said of getting up and starting whatever it is. No, it's not carpentry, right?
That's right.
You didn't just put up a semi-right angle and then try to build a coliseum around it. But if you have a thought, an idea, and especially when you're dealing with A, young people who haven't had a lot of life experience behind them, or B, someone trying to do something that is off their path, it get your feet wet, right?
We have a strategy. We use the word failure, but we don't like it. It's fail forward fast.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what was going to happen with that first episode, but we're not afraid of it because it's not really fail forward fast. It's really succeed or learn. So if the first one falls apart and it's crap, we can do the next one and learn a little bit.
Okay, so this TV show that I did, there's been people talking like I don't do this stuff and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm revisiting things that I've done in my past, right? And one of the most difficult things I ever did was a live call-in talk show. And I won't talk about why I started doing it, or all the reasons why, but one of the reasons why I said, look, if I do a live call-in talk show, there's no crutches. There's no, and I can't stand this phrase, fix it in post. I cannot stand that phrase. I find it lazy. Do the thing as right as you can so it's easier in post.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I worked for days on this video project that I learned last century how to do this stuff. But once I had the pieces together, bing, 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 like the final thing, I was done in a couple hours. hard part was putting the bookends together.
Yeah.
But all that to say was, the first year that I did that live call-in talk show once a week was horrible, wretched, bad. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to, television conversation is different than a regular conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have to have down some path. Even if it was the last time we were here, the incorrect path, it was still the correct path because we got to learn about you. That fail forward thing, 2 years later, I'm like, oh, okay. And it got to the point where I don't want to do it now. I just don't. Gray hair. But there were times I was running the control room. Like, I turned the cameras into the control room because no one else was there. And ran packages in and out of stuff and interviewed the person. Now, was it perfect? No. You're having a conversation, you forget to hit a cue. But I very much like that. Hands-on, figure it out, learn up, right?
Yeah.
That's what I try to tell my kids. I don't know how to do this. That good. You're not supposed to. You're 12. You're 11. Yeah. You're 15. You've never done it before. Yes, you don't know how to do it. Figure it out. You walk.
Well, I mean,
talk.
Yeah, they've already done the process.
These are building blocks. I applaud you. So, you have agricultural type stuff. You have a fish tank and what was a baptismal that is connected to. What is the plant thing?
The aquaponics.
Aquaponics.
Yeah.
I'm so sleepy. In the other room that cleans the stuff, right?
Well, we take the nitrogen from the plant or from the fish and give it to the plants, and the oxygen from the plants and give it to the fish.
See, I never would have thought of that. And it's these kind of things. You have a living front yard.
Yes.
Which is a
edible.
Performance space. Yeah. An edible front yard that is a performance space.
Yes.
You just recently did a fundraiser for Erica, or with Erica, or Erica did a fundraiser there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Munchbach.
Yeah,
she was on my show, so I had to learn her name.
I knew the American way, and she told me the right way, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a lot of German.
Yeah.
But which is a fundraiser for the Lansing City Rescue Mission.
That's correct.
Because it's something that was dear to her. I mean, she talks about being homeless, not blowing up her spot. But she talks about being homeless. She still is in a financial situation where it's not as stable as I think she would like it to be, but then took it upon herself to help someone else out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just poetry.
To me, that she is a microcosm of like who comes to the Fledge and who goes through our whatever it is. We don't like system, we don't like process, we don't like institutions. We're a recipe. We are ingredients. We're dealt a hand and we play the hand. And Erica, she started pitching at 99 Problems, but a pitch ain't one. She's been to almost every single scrum meeting in the last 200 days. We started March 16th having a daily meeting where we just encouraged each other. And she pitched, she's been on my show, and you see her event come to life live on the porch.
But not only did the event come to life, upon meeting her she's shy.
Yes.
Right? You just know that right off the bat. And then I've known her for, I guess, since COVID, so 6 months or less. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like in real life, I don't know Facebook life. And I sent her a message one day. I go, look at you singing at church.
Did she sing on one of my shows?
She sang at church that she goes to a few weeks ago. And she was like, she said something about stage fright. I'm like, yeah, stage fright is real, but you did the thing. Like,
Yeah.
She used to intern in my office before COVID, and it was funny because I'm like, and she'd look at me, and I'm like, if I'm scaring you off, please, I apologize. I don't mean to. And then after a while, I was like, oh, you keep coming back. But she's a sponge. And I love that you have an environment that allows for that to happen, because it resonates with me because it wasn't there when I was coming through.
Yeah. And I mean, she's a social entrepreneur. She sees a problem that we're having in our community. She's attacking that problem with the entrepreneurial skills, which are basically being innovative, being creative, and finding a way for the community to sustain your endeavor. And it might be through selling something and the community buys your product or buys your service, or it might be donations like she did over the weekend. But at the end of the day, she's taken whatever she has, putting it together, building something more with it through innovation and creativity, grabbing that resource that gets created, and then jumping back in the chaos and seeing what emerges. And that's how you build yourself out of poverty. It's how we build our community out of poverty. It's how we create a strong community, and strong communities, they don't need the government coming and intervening all the time. For example, the police, where they take care of themselves, and they get stronger with each other and being...
Such an ironic statement, because Chief Green said something about neighborhood officers are needed in places that have high unemployment rates, and he had some other factors. And my thought was, why don't we figure out how to get these people employed?
Right.
Why don't we figure out situations where, they're making sure that they're eating? If they're hungry, unemployed, have a lot of leisure time, and somebody can come in and bring in the drug factor, then that's when you say you need a police officer. Right. My thought is employment, food, get them off the boredom train, right?
Mm-hmm.
Find that drug person, tell him to leave, and all the other stuff. You wouldn't need the neighborhood police officer, right? Because he also said there's communities that have the resources, money, to get their own security.
Yeah. This
right?
sounds like Octavius Butler, parable of the sower. You pay for the police, you pay them every time you have to call them. I mean, that sounds horrible. I'm going to go on a tangent on that. But the way I look at it, and what I hear him saying, though, too, is when you have that neighborhood that however he just judged it, those are his words or your words, I'm not sure, that has maybe this potential for crime, they're almost putting that community officer in there as a cushion between the community and the guys that are going to really show up when the trouble gets there. And I love the community officer at the Fledge, but that's because he gives us room to breathe, and he gives us the opportunity to solve our own problems. We don't call the police. If we have something violent, we recognize the mental illness, and we try to walk them over to Sparrow ourselves. When we have a property crime, the police, can't really help us anyway, so we're really wasting their resource and our resource. And most of the time we know who it is. It's usually someone we know, and it's usually on film, and we usually just call them up and say, here's what you have to do to restore justice and come back. And if you can't do that, take a couple laps. And if a year goes by and they come back, we can't even keep track of it. We don't have time for that stuff.
So you're at the Fledge. You're behind. You're across the street and behind Sparrow, Ronald McDonald House. What's the name of the road?
Eureka.
Which I think is fantastic. It was formerly a church. It's an event space. It is a music space, meaning production as well as performance.
Yeah.
You have art space.
Yeah, art studios,
space.
kitchen, 3D printers, sewing machines, screen printing, all kinds of robotics and drones.
Mm-hmm.
We're very high tech.
You can teach me how to fly a drone?
I can let you fail forward fast without screaming at you for crashing into a wall or something. So I mean, you ask what can people do? They can come and fail. They can come and be who they want to be. We're not there to judge anybody. We're there to give you space to find out who you are, because all those things that you were saying.
Isn't this how knowledge was explored and shared in the past, with the great philosophers sitting out in a field somewhere or under a tree, and something falls in their head and they go, "Why did that fall?" Isn't this what that is?
It certainly tries to model that. We see learning and education as lifelong. We see it as, a 12-year-old can show up and teach me something every single day, and if I'm receptive to that, I'm becoming a better person because I'm hanging out with, just this knowledge, this different experience. If it's a young black man, 12 years old, he's going to be able to tell me things that I can't see or learn anywhere else, and my brain just starts getting bigger, but the collective brain gets bigger. And when you recognize that when you're around people that are different than you, it's your highest probability that you're going to learn something, and that it's always about the learning. And if you're getting smarter and smarter as a person, as an organization, or as a community, you're solving your own problems. And if you're solving your own problems, you're building your own future. And you're not buying it from the East Coast, the West Coast, Amazon, Google, whomever. Lansing made. That's what we're going to do.
That's what we're going to do.
And it includes our future.
Amen to that. So, to encourage people to visit the space, what do you say?
Well, you can't just say, "Hey, come to my white boy incubator," right? I mean, it doesn't work like that. Nobody's going to come because they already saw one of those and they already heard one of them. But you can say, we've got a studio. Would you like to come see it? Would you like to use it? Would you like to be the producer of your own music?
Do you charge?
Depends. If not usually, not initially, usually not until we know the person. I mean, if they show up and they're huffing and puffing and walking in and being a big shot, we're going to put some money, they're going to have to put some money down. If they're a 14-year-old around the corner from us, we will help him all day, because it's not just the music studio that he gets to see. He gets to see the artists, he gets to see the screen printing, he gets to see maybe a black man a little bit older than him doing something that maybe his cousins tease him about. He wants to do art, or he wants to do fashion, and his mentors that he has back home are teasing him about that. We let him come and be who he really wants to be, because if we let him create a gap between who he wants to be and who he starts to grow to be, he's going to fill that gap with drugs and alcohol and depression. And I'm talking about every single person. The women in the suburbs do it too.
It happens. Most definitely. I wanted to be an actor when I was in second grade. Something happened and we did this reenactment thing, and we were at the Kiva at the school, and I was like, I don't even know what this is and what I'm doing, but I want to do it again. And when I talked about it, everyone was like, "Oh," and then then I'm looking around in my environment, and there was no opportunity, little to no opportunity, none that I knew of. And that's why I stayed up all night last night with all this gray hair in my face. Yeah. 'Cause I'm driven to it. I realized at some point in time, just from sheer sake of that was what was in my being, I was able to realize that dream. And I was also able to realize everything that I wanted to do as a child I had already done. And it was such a freeing and welcoming moment, because I'm like, now everything's bonus. Like, anything I do now is just gravy, right? And so when I observe what you're, from afar, what you're helping to facilitate with mostly young people being able to explore freely, man, that warms my heart.
Oh, thank you.
Dude, like, every time I see something, I go, man, I wish I could do I know you got it down. But I was like, it's part of my hustle over here. Part of my hustle over here is to be able to hustle up enough to be able to go be like, all right, how can I help over here? You know, it's that time thing or resource thing. Like, I got 2 babies at home, and then the other 2 are being semi-neglected because I'm trying to, you know, I can't cook fried chicken and bottle feed a baby. I've tried it.
I think, you know, it's one of the things we're really trying to be careful with is that, I guess it's a couple of things, is we need to be more welcoming. Every single day, we need to be more welcoming, and I think we're probably the most welcoming place in the
I don't
city.
know how you could be any more.
We have to be more. And radical inclusion can be exclusive, right? It can scare white people. You know, it's a certain
I saw
crowd
it happen
here.
because I invited a bunch of white people to your space, and they were like, "Oh my!" And I'm like, "What was that?" But that's why we're here, so you can know it.
But the other thing is, you know, I don't want anybody to ever say we got it down, because there's so much more to learn and so much more to improve, and I want to make sure that me and the people at the Fledge, that we are constantly scooting over and making room on the bleachers for everybody. We got to do it. It's not just that first walking through the door. It's our leadership. It's what we choose to do. It's what our values are. You know, we've got the saying, values not rules. We don't have rules at the Fledge because there's way too many rules. And if you eliminate rules, you get more honest people. And that seems weird to people, and they want to stack laws onto everything, and all you end up
freedom, it breaks the binds that causes you to act out. It's just like, here's the oversimplification of a rule. You're upset, and I tell you to calm down. Does that make you calm down?
No. It makes me want to not ever calm down again in my life.
So that's the meme that's going around now. Has telling someone to calm down in the history of calm down ever calmed anybody down? Never.
Correct.
And I'm the poster child for that. When Jessie and I first started dating, I told her right from the get-go, if I pop off, let me walk off. I'll be back. I will. I ain't got nowhere to go. I'm going to be back. But I'm going over there so I don't upset old people over here. So with that, the Fledge, you can't miss it. You will drive by it because the roads are quirky and it's off Michigan Avenue, right?
Yes.
And most of us have not been in this pocket because we don't live there, right?
Right.
And there's not a QD right there. But if you've ever been to Ronald McDonald House, you know where this is.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic space, and if nothing else, visit it for curiosity's sake.
Yeah. And
Be nosy.
We're super safe. We have high tech managing our airflow. We've got temperature sensors. We sense where the particulates. Yeah.
Ring my phone when I showed up there knocking on the door or something?
You rang my doorbell. And I answered
it. Oh, you answered it from your house.
Somewhere.
Yeah, from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of,
It's a smart building.
Yeah, because I was like, wait, what? I applaud you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching another edition of What's the Haps. Man, share it with your friends and stuff like that. There's a lot going on. If you have a question, comments, concern, or somebody that needs to be on the show, let me know. I can be found. It's Lancey Made. Just don't listen to the email on my voicemail. I apparently have to change that. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And when I say thanks for being here, I mean this here. Not this is fine.
Well then, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, the here.